This reading is all about someone who is holding on to all of their great ideas and is in a place of smug self satisfaction and criticism of what everybody else is doing, but they're not doing enough themselves in order to earn the right to be operating in that level of criticism. There's a lot of arrogance and stubbornness with the Seven of Swords, holding on to all of the good ideas and not testing one's own theories out in the real world. So I really love how this reading opens up the energy of Seven of Swords. And there's this sort of snobbish, bratty, petulant kind of energy that we all inevitably accumulate. We're in a world where judgments of others are flying around left and right everywhere all the time. And this reading is all about getting some output and getting some data, learning from failure, learning from mentorship, and really achieving the kind of vulnerability that it takes to try and fail and learn rather than just abiding in theory all the time. So, again, this reading is not for you, it's not for me. It's just showing me thinking out loud so you can understand how a tarot reading goes when I apply this reading of gifts with the central issue to be resolved, the gift to receive to help with that issue, the gift to give to overcome that issue. I've been doing this reading for a long time at events and parties, and I want to do a bunch of these videos to show you how it works and how I'm thinking about the cards as I'm interpreting them. So tarot is best done in person between two real people with real cards in real life. So this reading's not for you. It's not for me. It's not for any specific zodiac sign or the collective or just because the algorithm found you. It's more of an example reading for no one in particular, just to show you how tarot can work when you apply these methods. And if you want to learn more, I run a tarot school called the Arcana Conservatory. And we're this worldwide community of tarot enthusiasts. We have regular casual video calls where we all talk shop about our tarot journeys. And I'm creating these weekly challenges where there's writing assignments, there's side quests to do out in the real world, there's special reading spread formats to break down the elements of each card so that you can learn tarot from the inside out. I'm not going to be giving you lists of keywords to tell you what the cards mean. I'm trying to show you how you can relate to a tarot deck in a way that gets all of your wisdom and knowledge into this format of 78 cards that you're capable of using as a map and a mirror for yourself and for others. And your understanding of tarot is only as good as your understanding of life and history and philosophy and experience and all of the things that make up a human lifetime. You can put them into the tarot, and that tarot becomes a living, evolving mirror of your understandings. And the more you refine it into this high resolution picture, the more you're able to capture reflections for other people as well as for yourself. We're all connected in the collective unconscious. And the more you have tarot as a companion in your journey of understanding what it means to be alive, what it means to be human, the more tarot can become a tool for healing and actually creating tangible results. It's not about predicting the future. It's about essentially giving people back to themselves. So I hope you enjoy this example of the reading of gifts, and thanks for watching. So we start with the focal point. This is the central element of the reading that is the aspect of the querent's life that needs focus and attention, something that's out of alignment and needs to get brought back into alignment. So in this reading, the focal point is the Seven of Swords. So swords is the suit of the mind, and the mind is like a sword in the way that it cuts the world into pieces, because the world is one thing. Things are only separate in the mind. So the mind is using all these labels and symbols to chop the world into pieces, to make sense of it, to build patterns and systems of understanding. So it's the way the mind uses the sword of the word, either spoken or thought or written, to tell stories about the world, to break the world down into pieces, which is inherently a violent act because you're reducing the truth of something by giving it a label. Things are so much more complicated and multifaceted beyond the words that we use to point towards them. Words are a magical instrument, but they're also a crude instrument. And that's why they're a useful tool, but a dangerous weapon. So the suit of swords has a lot of negative imagery because it's a kind of tale of the dangers of the mind when it's wielded irresponsibly. And ultimately, you arrive at a kind of ego death, shedding of the mind, and understand the not wielding irresponsibly, but really just understanding that the mind is a temporary thing. You don't have the same mind that you did 10 years ago. That mind had to die and be shed. You can't get too attached to your own thoughts about who you are and what you're doing with your life. They have to keep moving, they have to be expressed. And that's what I believe Seven of Wands is trying to show. This is a character who is holding on to all of their swords. So it's the way that we become a little impressed with ourselves, a little too proud of ourselves for having all the best ideas. It's someone who sits in judgment and sits in criticism without having done anything themselves. It's the one who's on the sidelines of the dance party making fun of all of the people dancing, but they'll never go and start dancing themselves. It's this tendency for ideas to build up and not be expressed. And you can almost tell that this character is saying, haha, look at all these swords I have. Many people imply that they've escaped from stealing all of these swords from a bunch of vendors at a bazaar. So it's someone who's gathered all of these ideas, but only for the sake of their own satisfaction, not in order to be of service. So I found that this card usually comes up when people are keeping all their good ideas to themselves. So this querent is likely in this position of the Seven of Swords, where they are very smart, but they don't have the healthiest means to express themselves. They're not letting these good ideas out for the benefit of others. They're holding on to it with a sense of almost smug satisfaction. And it's being proud of your own cleverness and ultimately realizing that that cleverness is useless if it is not applied. So I would say this is someone who has drawn the Seven of Swords as a kind of challenge of, if you're so smart, why haven't you leveled up your life in a beautiful way that you know is possible? So this is a character, this is a querent who is being invited to receive and give the gifts of this reading so that they can get out of this self-satisfied stagnation that is holding on to all of the good knowledge and all of the good thoughts and ideas that the world would benefit from if they were to get over themselves a little bit. So what is this querent being invited to receive? That is the King of Swords. So kings carry the energy of their suit with a very stoic, practical energy of someone who has been around the block. They've seen it all. They've done it all. The King of Swords has learned enough to know that words have a very strong impact. So they're very careful about when they speak. You can think of a King of Swords as someone who knows that when they speak, what they say will be etched into stone. There's extreme power in words. So the King of Swords wields words very carefully and very judiciously because they know the level of consequence that words can carry. So it's related to things like politicians and lawyers and judges, because they're using words to shape people's lives in a very tangible way. Sometimes words in the right or wrong order can mean the difference between life and death. So to be receiving the King of Swords would be usually on the receiving side. Court cards or royals represent people in our lives that we need to listen to more, people that we need to spend more time with. We need to let these people into our life more. On the giving side, I would say this would mean this person acting as the King of Swords. So taking more responsibility, taking themselves more seriously when it comes to the impact that their words and ideas have. But on the receiving side, it's someone who represents this King of Swords energy coming into this person's life. So this is someone crying out for mentorship because they are unimpressed by everyone else's output, and they feel like there's no point in playing the game because they aren't feeling that they have any peers. They're not seeing any masters worth following. So letting in King of Swords energy is letting in mastery and tutelage and mentorship into their lives, someone who's going to pull greatness out of them, whether it's an editor or a mentor in a profession or a leader in a project or a movement. The Seven of Swords is almost like a knight who hasn't found a worthy king to follow. So someone who has all these brilliant ideas, but they don't see what is worth contributing all of their brilliant ideas towards. So a King of Swords is someone who comes into this person's life to show them a path, show them what to do with all of this pent up mental energy. And it's most likely royals usually show up in the form of a real person in a person's life, but it can also be authors or figures, either long dead or great teachers and educators and powerful figures who serve as inspiration. So, Seven of Swords could be someone who is just talking trash on social media, always has something to say about everything that's wrong with everything, but they're not talking about what they're for. They're acting like a know-it-all. They're acting like the ultimate critic, but they don't have any kind of aspiration on the positive side. They have criticisms for everything and praise for nothing, or they can tell you all about what they're against, but they can't tell you about what they're for. And they need an inspiring figure in their life. And it can often feel like we're at a lack of inspiring, charismatic, powerful figures in our lives. So to have King of Swords on the receiving end is actively seeking out, even if it's someone from the distant past, there has to be someone who represents a healthy expression of this mental energy that this querent can pledge their sword to, because there's a need for humility. This person needs to humble themselves and understand that they don't have all the answers, and there are different perspectives from people who have wisdom of the ages that they haven't made contact with yet. So letting in that wisdom from an external source and what they're being invited to give or create, this is what's got to let out in order to overcome the difficulties of the Seven of Swords. And in this case, it is the Nine of Wands. So wands represent the creative spirit. It's the inner fire that drives us to turn our dreams into reality and make our life into a beautiful work of art and really show what we're made of, show what drives us, show what we have to give, in a sense of vision, in a sense of enacting that vision. The whole journey from Ace to 10 of Wands is about taking this inner creative fire and applying it and seeing what you're made of and getting your dream out there in the world to let it bounce off the world, bounce off other dreams, and refine it into the ultimate creative expression. So Nine of Wands represents the sweet spot where we're just past the edge of our capabilities. This is a place where we're not hanging back, but we're not falling forward, burning ourselves out. We're right at that middle where we're leaning just past our edge, which is where all the growth happens. It's a healthy kind of friction to create that expansion of our powers. It's like a weightlifter putting one more 5-pound weight on top of their personal record, because it's this sustainable way to go past one's limits. So to draw the Nine of Wands for answering the Seven of Swords, it's that this is someone who probably doesn't have a worthy place to put all of their good ideas. There's yet to be found a format or a medium to express themselves. It's the kind of thing where this person's probably talking with their friends, and their friends are saying, oh, you should write a book, or you should be on TV, or you should be doing something with all of these fancy things that you have to say. But there's a lot of fear that comes with the Seven of Swords, fear of speaking out. I'd rather be in this place of self-satisfaction where I know what all the answers are. I'm the know-it-all. But once you put these people out on stage or actually try to challenge, they're almost like a big fish in a small pond. They're very satisfied with feeling good about themselves in a limited context. And if you put them out of their comfort zone and actually get them to run around the track for a bit, suddenly they're not as much of a know-it-all as they make themselves out to be. So they need a healthy challenge. They need a worthy challenge. I think it's going to come from the King of Swords. This is really like, there all this criticism for people who are out there actually doing things, and the King of Swords says, hey, who are you to talk trash about these people? Why don't you get out there and show everybody how it's done? And there's this hesitation, like, oh, I don't know. It's like, well, you don't get to keep criticizing everybody else if you're not doing anything yourself. So getting out there and actually doing the things, achieving the dreams, enacting all of the vision that this person has, and letting the rubber actually meet the road and determine what they're actually made of, and giving all of these ideas an actual outlet. And I would imagine for this person, the results of their output when they go out of their comfort zone might not measure up to their own sense of taste, but they have to keep at it in order to give all of those ideas a healthy outlet. And the larger theme that's at work here, this is the Circle of Doors tarot deck with the major arcana only. I like to pull a final card that's a guaranteed major arcana to put the rest of the reading into a larger context. And for this reading, it's the Chariot. So Chariot represents the virtue of acceleration itself. It's about feeling secure in the process of momentum. It's how a bicycle can only stay upright if it's moving forward. There's a balance to be found in kinetic energy as opposed to potential energy. You can do all the planning and the preparing and the lists and the spreadsheets and the gathering of resources, but you have to actually get out there and do it. So there's a kind of 80s training montage that this person needs to go through where it's like, show me what you're made of. Let's actually get out there and apply the theory. We've got a lot of great ideas, but you got a lot of great ideas about how other people should be living and how the world should work, but you need to actually get out into the world and start moving material around and start trying to accomplish actual goals. And that's where you learn how things really work. And there are people who can be guiding you with the wisdom of having explored the territory and tried and failed more times than you've ever tried yourself. So the Chariot says, accelerate your circumstances, move quickly and productively, and achieving a significant pace of output. The Seven of Swords is someone who has been holding back their entire life, and they need to put in their 1,000 hours, or they need to fail 1,000 times before they can really start to feel like they have momentum. And they've been afraid to allow themselves to fail. They're content to sit on the sidelines and criticize, but they need to get out there and actually test their theories in the real world and create output and open themselves up to mentorship. But we got to make up for lost time, because there's been a lot of time spent on the sidelines, and we have to dramatically accelerate to catch up to the heights of the vision that's coming through. So I hope this is helpful, and thanks again for watching.